Mike Macdonald is going to fix this run defense, but not in the way that you think. But let's back up. Do you remember the Let Russ Cook movement? The time when analytically minded Seahawks fans and national media members encouraged the Seahawks to throw the ball more? Well, they were right. Okay, maybe they weren't right that Pete was the problem and he was like holding Russ back, but they have been proved right in their thinking. So let's talk about the foundation of the Let Russ Cook movement, the analytics concept of play success. There's many different renditions of this statistic, but here's the general premise. The goal is to determine, based on the down and the distance, how many yards the offense needs to gain in order for the play to be considered a success. And so we're going to use Pro Football References numbers for this. So according to them, on first down, you need to gain at least 40% of the yards to the chains in order for it to be a success for the offense. On second down, they say you need 60%, and on third down, they say you need to gain 100% for it to be a success. But what we're going to focus on in this video is that first down statistic. Some sites say you need 50% on first down, some say 40, but basically what all the number crunchers say is that in order for it to be a successful play for the offense, they need to gain about 4 to 5 yards on first down. So if you're a defensive coordinator, what does this mean for you? Well, if the offense gets 4 or 5 yards on first down, that's actually kind of fine. It's just like a borderline success. And why is that? Well, analytics. The analytics movement doesn't like leaving anything up to chance, and on third down, anything can go wrong and the drive would just end. So if we work backwards, the best way to avoid third down is by converting on second down. And this is why passing has become so much more prevalent in the NFL, because teams are trying to move the chains as quickly as possible. And Mike Macdonald understands all of this. NFL offenses don't really want a 3, 4, or 5 yard run on first down. They want more because analytics tells them to want more. The entire goal of defense is to take away what the offense wants, so it really does make sense that NFL defenses have started shifting towards lighter boxes and more dedicated coverage players to take away what the offense is going for. And that is exactly what Mike Macdonald does. Let's talk about spacing, but before we get there, we need to define what a run fit is. A run fit is simply the defense's plan for how they're going to stop the run. And what that plan is, well, that has to do with what spacing you're in. So let's take this formation from the offense. The spacing refers to the number of players who have a run fit responsibility, or in other words, the number of players who are focused on stopping the run first. And here we can see that there are 8 players with a run fit responsibility, everyone except the outside corners and the free safety. And this is known as 8-man spacing because against a 2 wide receiver set, you have 8 players with run fit responsibilities, or generally 8 players in the box, ready to stop the run. Now stick with me because this might get a little bit confusing, but if you move from a 2 wide receiver set to a 3 receiver set, although now we have 7 players in the box, we're not in 7-man spacing. We're actually still in 8-man spacing because the way that we're going to defend this run hasn't really changed. Removing one player from both sides doesn't fundamentally change your plan. So a better way to identify 8-man spacing is that in 8-man spacing, you have 1 more player in the box than the offense has blockers. So here, if we look at this clip, we have 5 blockers and 6 defenders. So that is still 8-man spacing. I hope you get that because now we're moving on to what Mike Macdonald likes to run, which is 7-man spacing. So in 7-man spacing, against that 2 wide receiver set that we started with, now you'll have just 7 players in the box. And this means that you have the same number of players in the box as the offense has blockers, which means you also have 1 gap unaccounted for. Again, the number of players in the box can change, but 7-man spacing means you have as many defenders as the offense has blockers. And this is a problem. If the offense just wins all of their one-on-one blocks, there's going to be no one left to tackle the running back. But again, Mike Macdonald really does want to run 7-man spacing. That is kind of fundamental for all of his coverages on the back end to work. And the Ravens actually ran a ton of split field coverages, or coverages that would have 2 safeties out of the run fit. They actually ran that on 46% of their first down snaps, good for ranking 6th most in the NFL. And again, these split field coverages necessitate running 7-man spacing run fits inside and being light in the box. I'm making this video primarily because I think a lot of Hawks fans think that Mike Macdonald is going to commit to stopping the run more than Pete Carroll did. And that is just not true. If you're wondering, the Seahawks actually were in split field coverages on first down just 36% of the time, which was about 21st in the league. So the Seahawks were actually really rather committed to stopping the run last year. They just completely sucked at it. So now let's look at how Mike Macdonald gets away with being one guy short in the box. Again, we've already established that he's kind of happy to give up 3 to 5 yards on that first down carry, but how does he stop it from being even more than that? Well, the biggest thing that Mike Macdonald wants to do is he wants to get everyone involved. The goal of the players in the run fit isn't actually to tackle the back, but it's more just to slow him down until the force players from the secondary can get there. So these guys in the box need to try to contain the runner with the knowledge that they'll be getting some help. And this is the primary way that Mike Macdonald is able to get away with playing down a guy in the box. They really just need to slow down the ball carrier until the cavalry can come. Let's compare how the Ravens defended the run last year to how the Seahawks defended the run, because they honestly couldn't be more different. Let's start with this clip where the Ravens completely shut down this Jags run play. Here the Ravens are in a 3-4 under front against the Jags' balanced 7-man formation. So again, from a pure math perspective, the Ravens are kind of in a difficult spot because the Jags have a blocker for every Raven in the box. Again, this is 7-man spacing because again, that is the characteristic of 7-man spacing. You have one player for each blocker in the box, but not that extra guy for the back. And here the Jags are running outside zone to the left of our screen. And this is honestly what really well-coached run defense looks like. Brent Urban, the 5 technique to the strong side of the concept, and Malik Harrison understand that their goal is to force the cutback as quickly as possible. They're not really trying to tackle the running back. All they're trying to do is cut off the front side of the play to make him cut back. Urban is able to aggressively attack the outside shoulder of his blocker and get upfield because he knows he has help on the inside. His primary objective is to force the cutback, right? This isn't all 11 guys just going to try to tackle the running back. You need to have roles and jobs for each of them in order to make everything work together. And so this is exactly what Urban does. He forced the cutback. He does a great job of getting upfield and making sure that he cuts off the front side of this concept. I also want to point out what a great job Harrison has done on the edge to really turn and seal, which also helps convince the running back that he has to cut back. I think when people see this on film, they're like, wow, what a great individual effort by Urban. But that isn't what run defense is. He knew that he didn't need to slow up for his blocker and try to read and react like Pierce is doing over here. All he needed to do was set the edge, and the fact that he had one clear job and everyone else was doing theirs unlocked him to make this play. And to me, that is coaching. The entire goal of how Mike Macdonald defends the run is to be able to counteract what the offense wants. If you want to run outside zone, well, we're going to stop the edge so you can't. And this is his approach to defending the run, and it's honestly very similar to his approach to defending the pass. He wants his players to figure out exactly what you're trying to do and then move within their structured rule set to stop that. So now let's look at how the Seahawks defended the run. The Seahawks really liked a lot more 8-man spacing than the Ravens did. And to be clear, both teams used both 7 and 8-man spacing concepts. But the Seahawks really did focus a lot more on 8-man spacing, and they were a lot more aggressive with it, and that did them no favors. Let's look at this play against the Steelers. Here the Seahawks are in an 8-man spacing look where they have some variation of cover 3 on the back end. We know that this is 8-man spacing because there's one more defender in the box than there are blockers. And here the Seahawks are slanting their front as everyone moves towards the right at the snap. But the players here don't really look like they have specific roles or goals like they did in Mike Macdonald's defense. Really, everyone's just trying to get penetration into the backfield, and this is really aggressive. If you're a Hawks fan, you're probably not going to believe this stat, but the Seahawks actually ranked 4th in the NFL in tackles for loss last year, despite being putrid against the run. And this was the most frustrating thing about the Seahawks' run defense. It just wasn't consistent. You would drop them for a loss on one play, but then give up 15 yards on the next and wipe away all the good that you just did. I don't think anyone on this play failed to really do their job. It was just that the scheme wasn't prepared to stop this. Instead of having roles that everyone can execute, here the Seahawks were really just relying on someone to make a splash play, which is just never a recipe for success. Run defense is mostly about coaching and scheme. Yes, there is skill and technique, but I think the Seahawks had more of a scheme problem last year than a personnel problem. Mike Macdonald has built his entire run defense about trying to win even when he's down a player, and I think he's going to do that better than the Seahawks did, even though the Seahawks had that extra guy in the box. The run defense will be improved, but don't be surprised if the Seahawks give up some yardage. I made this video because I don't want Hawks fans to be surprised or frustrated if this run defense isn't amazing per most statistics. But Mike Macdonald understands that you don't really need to stop the run. You need to try to contain it. You need to make sure that teams don't beat you with the run game. But other than that, you really can let some yards slip by as long as they're not the important ones. And that, I think, is what we're going to see in 2024. Don't be surprised that Seahawks give up a bunch of yards on the ground game, but that's all going to be part of the process. I trust Mike Macdonald to strike the right balance between slowing the ground game while also stopping these explosive offenses, because that's what a modern defense does. And finally, the Seahawks are going to have a modern defense, and I just can't wait to see it.